Welcome back. It's been quite a while, but just in case you forgot, this is Jamie's Reviews. I am Jameson Michael, and with me today we got the People's Champion, Megan, aka Swaggy Waggy, aka Megwag Runs. You can follow her on Instagram. And together, we are here to give the people what they want. And as many of you know, when it comes to an Asics, we try to get our hands, or in this case feet, on everything possible. And sometimes it backfires, and the shoe sucks. But as of late, Asics has been showing up and showing out. So here we are, in the midst of the carbon plate hype. Asics has brought out their take on what the elite distance road racing shoe should be. Here we have the all-new Asics MetaRacer. And although Tokyo 2020 won't be happening, that will not stop us from seeing what Asics had to offer in what was supposed to be an Olympic year. And well, Megan and I put as many runs in the MetaRacer as we could, and we have come to a conclusion. And you can hear her thoughts in the post review. But as far as now, this is my review on the Asics MetaRacer. So the goal of the MetaRacer is to be as light and as minimal as possible, while still being comfortable. And I would say that is essentially what the upper is. Everything you need and nothing you don't. And that's a double negative, but you get what I mean. Anyway, we have a single layer mesh upper that is the definition of breathable. There is ventilation throughout the entire toe box and around the side of the shoe, including the flat racer style tongue. And this may not seem like a big deal, but overheating feet for a longer duration run is never fun. So we appreciate the thought that Asics gave us, because summertime will be here before you know it, and hopefully the coronavirus will be gone. The mesh keeps a pretty secure fit, snug through the midfoot, and actually has enough toe box room to where I couldn't complain. Hashtag free the toes. Now I like shoes like the Skechers Speed Elite, but the toe box in that shoe took a little while to break in. And the MetaRacer gave us that extra bit of space that we wanted, out of the box. Or in our case, a bag. The shoes came in a bag. Not sure why. Now while the mesh is accommodating, the heel of the shoe is more structured and maintains a good lockdown. It's not too stiff or invasive, and not too sloppy where the heel is slipping around too much. And there's just a tad of internal padding around the top of the ankle collar and around the heel. And the padding was nice to have, and didn't seem to add much weight. It still had that light racer feel. So from all the uppers that I've tried in carbon plated shoes, the MetaRacer to me is the best overall, or at least so far. It's light, minimal, and effective. And super breathable. Even the small things, like the texture of the laces, was a nice addition. When tying the shoelace, it never lost its tension. The way you tie them, it's the way it stays. So as far as I'm concerned, the upper is a solid A. But why not an A+? Well, obviously they didn't add a pull tab. And that's all I gotta say about that. So the midsole cushioning and the outsole are almost like one and the same. They kinda work together. So we have a full length use of Asics Flight Foam technology. Now there's a variety of flavors of flight foam, meaning some flight foam is firmer, like in the Asics Evo ride, and then some softer, like in the Glide ride. Now to me the flight foam in this sits somewhere in between, but maybe a bit more on the bouncier end. The ride of the shoe just has more of a rebound. Now Asics told me it's just eco-friendly flight foam, which is great and all, but as far as the feeling, it feels similar to what FieldSail feels like from New Balance, which to me is a good thing. Now under the layer of flight foam, you have the actual carbon plate, in which in turn means that this carbon plate is a bottom loaded plate. Now typically with high stack height carbon plate shoes, the plate needs to be sandwiched between either the midsole or above the midsole to make the carbon plate more useful. But the stack height of the MetaRacer is nowhere close to what the other brands are doing, which made it possible to have the plate bottom loaded and still provide a springy toe off when getting into your stride. And the plate being bottom loaded is what causes the need to have the outsole rubber placement where it is. Now it looks like a lot of rubber, and it is, and one of the main purposes was to keep the carbon plate in place. Now when I first saw how much rubber that this shoe had, I thought, man, this is gonna add a bunch of unnecessary weight. But once we had it on foot, it felt much lighter than expected. And then my thought was, well, I guess we get added durability. I mean, many carbon plate shoes have very little rubber on the outsole to keep the shoe light. In this case, you got a lightweight shoe with added traction. Now Asics calls it their Asics Grip, which I guess makes sense. And as far as on the road, granite and track, it did just that. It gripped. Better on road than dirt and gravel, but this shoe was built for the road. And I think it performs best on that. Go figure. But people always ask, so there you go. It is good for the roads. And it wasn't too shabby on wet roads. The overall ride is smooth and fast. The lower stack height gives the shoe a bit more of a stable, controlled feel. It goes as fast as you go, without holding you back. And the cushioning was enough to where I didn't feel beat after a longer or faster effort. So what makes this MetaRacer any different from what's already on the market? Well, for one, the lower stack height really helps the shoe feel a bit more engaged. And I am very aware of shoes like the Vaporfly and the Alphafly are leading the way of carbon plate shoes. But for some, including myself, the amount of squish you get in those shoes can be a bit much at times. The other end of that is carbon plate shoes like the Skechers Speed Elite, which is more on the firmer side. The MetaRacer to me splits that middle between cushion and a more natural response, which is my personal preference. So depending on what you prefer and what works for your running, it will be a matter of what you like, how fast you are running, and how far you are running. And of course, what fits the best. So what is this shoe good for? Well, obviously, racing. I can see most people using this shoe from anywhere from a road 5K to a half marathon. On the elite end, I can see some go up to a marathon. But technically, any shoe could be a marathon shoe. Whatever works for you, works for you. The MetaRacer is fast, light, and fun. I like the Saucony Endorphin Pro as a softer option, and the Skechers Speed Elite as a firmer responsive option. But if you love the Vaporfly, and it's the perfect shoe, you probably won't like this as much. But if you're wanting something similar, with a more natural responsive feel, then this might be your jam. Now I would have said gel, but this shoe doesn't have any gel, so yeah. So the positives for some may be negatives for others, and vice versa. To me, the only negative I have is that the shoe may not be enough cushioning for the average elite jogger to go the entire 26.2 miles. Now the half marathon and down, to me, will be the sweet spot of the MetaRacer. Asics is doing some cool stuff, and this definitely surprised me, and will probably be in my top 3 carbon plate shoes of 2020. Hashtag make Asics great again.
Excellent.
You know it's a real deal when I only come back for the Asics.
Ah.
I am the self-proclaimed leader of the Making Asics Great Again movement.
Self-proclaimed.
And it is my honor to be one of the first ones to inform you.
It's a fun shoe. It's a fun
shoe. But you know, they know my thoughts. They're here for your thoughts because this is the post-review review. And Megan, I think it's time for you to give the people what they want, but be honest.
Okay.
You know, I'm very biased.
Yes.
Like everything Asics, I'm all for it, except for the Gel Nimbus 21. But besides that, I'm all Asics.
All right.
So they want to know from someone who doesn't like is biased from any brand or anything. Talk to the people.
Well, I mean, this is the first Asics shoe that I liked in a long time. I haven't liked many Asics shoes, just found them stiff, found my toes really cramped. But this one, it takes that racing shoe, and with the carbon plate, and they don't add a ton of cushion, which, thank you, we don't need to always have tons of cushion in carbon plated shoes. So that made me happy. The fit was pretty nice overall, so I was happy with it. I got a couple of fast runs in them, and they felt great.
I talked to Asics this morning, and they told me it was very purposeful to like have the stack height not be so huge. So did it change how you felt about the cushioning? What you use the shoe for? What type of runs did you get out of this?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, Asics, for not making an overly cushioned carbon plate shoe. I've tried a couple of the carbon plate shoes, and they're great shoes. I had a lot of fun in them, but I did find that my foot was kind of sore afterwards and just had to work harder because of that cushion. I just felt like I was unstable. But with this shoe, it took that carbon plate, put a little bit of cushioning around it, and then gave you an awesome upper. And I was like, wow, this is fun. I can go fast in this shoe. I have that carbon plate spring to it, but I don't feel like I'm having to work super hard just to get off the ground with all the cushioning. It has a lot of rubber here on the outsole, which is kind of cool for a lightweight shoe. You don't see that too much. So it has a lot of durability, I find. Yeah, those are my main thoughts on it.
Impressive.
Yeah, I love the upper.
Mm-hmm.
It's so simple yet effective. It's everything you need and nothing you don't. A little cushioning in the heel just to kind of keep it comfortable. So, I mean, I asked them because this is flight foam and then you have the carbon plate underneath. To me, this wasn't flight foam. This was something else. I feel like they weren't being honest with me. This feels lighter. It felt a little bit bouncier. And because the stack height wasn't too much, it didn't feel too much squishy, but it still had that bounce. It's a difference between being like sloppy and still having it bounce.
This is definitely something that I think I would wear for 5K or 10K. The other carbon plate shoes, great for marathons. They have that cushioning to support that. But, I mean, that's me. I just don't really like the cushioning that much. And thank you to this shoe for not putting so much in.
Yeah. I personally think this shoe can probably be a 5K, 10K,
Half
marathon.
Mm-hmm.
If you were one of the elite runners, definitely go a marathon in the shoe. I'm not one of those people who think more cushioning means a marathon. Sure, you can run with, you can run in. If you can handle a firmer shoe, go for it. Whatever feels natural to you. But I could definitely see some elites going to marathon in this comfortably.
Yeah, definitely.
Someone like me, 10K, I'll definitely go a half marathon in these.
Yeah.
Just give me it kind of reminds me of Fuel Cell from the New Balance, this flight foam they use. And they say, it's softer than the one they had in the Evo Ride and it's different from the other ones, but I don't know. I don't believe them. This is, whatever they use for this compound of flight foam, let's keep using this one. Let's keep using this flight foam. But yeah, anything you would change about the shoe? Anything you didn't like about the shoe?
I like that it says Tokyo on the side. I think that's just kind of an extra little spice to it. It's kind of fun. Would I change anything? I don't think I would. I mean, comfort-wise, it fit really good. I like the fit of it. I would like to see it after I get, maybe 100 miles in it. See, from then, but, I've gotten a pretty good amount in it so far, and so far, 2 thumbs up.
Skechers Speed Elite, I like that one. And then you have all the way up to the Vaporfly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Vaporfly is the most cushiest one.
Yeah.
And then the Speed Elite's the most firmest one. This kind of splits that middle, I
Yeah.
feel like. Not quite as firm as the Speed Elite, but a nice middle.
Okay.
As of right now, in this moment, I would say the Speed Elite and these are like my 2 favorite carbon plated shoes.
Do you like one over the other?
I think if I had to go 5K, I would go Speed Elite. 10Ks where it would split the difference of which one I want. It would depend on the surface. It's a little bit softer. If I had to go a half marathon, I think I would pull these out because it's a little more cushion compared to Speed Elite. But they're both very light.
They are.
They both.
Yeah. I was a little worried first seeing all of this rubber here on the bottom, thinking, oh, that's gonna weigh down the shoe. You asked me what maybe one thing I would change. Maybe I would take a little bit of this rubber out, just you could get it even lighter. But that's just gonna help with durability.
Yeah, I actually asked him. I was like, what was the purpose of going with the full outsole? And I asked him the weight. They told me the weight, and I was like, wait, you got it that light with all that rubber?
Mm-hmm.
But also because there's less stack height, I guess the rubber was needed to kind of keep the plate bottom loaded and keep it in place. So it has a purpose. But yeah, more durability, nice responsive ride. I'm not mad, and it's just as light as any other carbon plate shoe. So they could make it lighter, but I guess at that point you might be losing some durability.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to sacrifice the durability for lightness. I mean, you're always going to give a little bit, but I think this gave it a good blend. I would be curious if they could cut out a little bit of it, what would happen, but you know, if that's sacrificing too much of durability, then I'd rather have durability.
That's what I want. I want this shoe in a more exposed rubber form, and then to see how it goes. Or just give us another option. For those who want a cushier option, make a cushier version of the shoe with exposed outsole. Keep the weight lower but more stack high if they want that, and then keep this one for people like me who just wants like a good.
Yeah, I would go for this one. I would probably not go for the
But I think options are good. So
big one.
when people say Vaporfly versus this, it's like you want extra cushioning, like a lot of extra squish, or you want something more responsive.
I mean, some people like the squish, but I like the responsive.
Yeah,
So.
I don't think it's a comparison. I think it's just a preference.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think this shoe could be just as fast as the Vaporfly?
It depends who's wearing it.
That is true.
I hurt somebody's feelings just now.
Oh, I just noticed that there's like a hole. If you get water in your shoe, you can just kind of like.
So I guess extra breathability, you know. They did emphasize that their goal was to make the upper as breathable as possible, and
I think they did well with that.
you can almost see right through it.
Yeah. Yeah. You can see right through it. I can see my hand.
So
Hi.
it's good. It's as breathable as it gets, while still having some structure.
Yep.
I definitely want to compare this to the other carbon plate shoes. I might do a video comparing all of them once they come in. And then we have Saucony Pros, New Balance RCs. We already have the TCs, but I want to compare the RCs since that's the racing model. We'll do Vaporflies, Alpha Flies. We'll do the whole comparison like as we try to do when we can.
It's just hard to compare them because they're all carbon plate shoes, but it's like trying to compare New Balance 1400 to a Brooks Glycerin, right? It's like, well, what are they? Like, just two different shoes. They're both neutral, but the 1400 has like this much cushion, and then the Glycerin has like I got a lot of cushion. So.
Do that again.
No thanks.
Oh. And with that said, be sure to stay in school. But if you're online because the coronavirus shut down schools, just make sure you stay logged in. If you're don't log out.
I mean, maybe you should just change your outro to stay online.
Don't do drugs.
And if you can, keep it tight.
MAGA.